when this ends. Happy Wednesday, winners. It's our favorite day of the week, and you are now tuned in to another weekly episode of the Ladies in Motion podcast, Talk It Out, where we shine light on women that's winning in the local community. I'm your host, Madam Walker, and I am super excited about today's episode because it's the last week of Black History Month. Valentine's Day just passed, so, if you've been tuned in with us since 2018, I'm usually shining light on Black love and Black history, and that ain't nothing changed, okay? We're still doing the same thing, but today's winning lady is someone who I just can't wait to introduce to you all. But before I do that formally, I need everyone tuned in to share today's session. This is a session that you do not want to miss about vision, about being resilient, and about stepping out on faith. And this is a prime example, our next guest, of stepping out on faith, being resilient, and having a vision. So I'm super, super excited. Make sure you share today's episode if you'd like to win a free Ladies in Motion or Talk It Out t-shirt. Your page must be public and share out this video, and then the 50th person to share today's session will receive a free prize from us, okay? So share. I would like to give a shout out. I always do shout outs. I'm the queen of the shout outs.
Okay.
So get yours together. At the end of this, I'm asking if there are any business partners, anybody you'd like to shout out. But I have a few. I'd like to give a shout out to Millicent Reed. I got to shout out my girl.
Yes.
Because she was my first guest this season that helped kick us off, just set the bar so high. And she is how I've come in contact with Miss Jazmine Orr. She was telling me, listen, I ain't going to send nobody your way that ain't winning for real. This lady, you got to meet her. You want to interview her. She's a celebrity event stylist, which I love that you say that instead of I'm an event planner. No, I'm a celebrity event stylist.
Be clear.
Be clear. Okay, let's be clear. Okay, so I love that, and I just love women who don't gatekeep, and they see like, hey, you know what? I know a boss woman, and you should know this boss woman too. So shout out to Millicent who connected us. I'm super excited about that. And then I have one more. I want to shout out Alexis Pdor Glam. She has this fashion show that's coming up next weekend, this weekend actually, and I'm hosting it. I'm super excited along with Jasmar, Bennett. Get your tickets right now. It's your last opportunity to get the tickets. We can drop the link in the comments below, but you do not want to miss this. It's so good. A bunch of local entrepreneurs, local models, local designers come together to make this happen. And it's also a mental health awareness fashion show.
I love it.
And I know that I learned so much about Jasmine, y'all preparing for this interview. So I just can't wait to talk about it all. So share this episode. And again, shout out to Millicent and shout out to my girl Alexis with Pdor Glam. All right. Are you ready to get into this? Is there anybody you'd like to shout out?
I'm going to shout out my girl Hazel. So I will be back in Atlanta March 8th for Women's History Month. And we're speaking on Call for More. It's her organization. So it'll be here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So I have to give you that information for the tickets. But Hazel, girl, you're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. One time for Hazel, one time for the women that's winning. I love March. It's one of my favorite months. So I can't wait to just support Hazel and you and everybody else that's winning this month. Okay. Awesome. So I'm super excited to just get right into this because we got a lot to talk about. I really enjoyed getting prepared for this. I learned so much about her that I just didn't know. Yeah. And now y'all get to hear it from the source. Okay. So this next guest, y'all, her name is Jazmine Orr. She's born and raised right here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, but she's currently making motion all the way across town, y'all, in Las Vegas, Nevada, doing big things with her event planning business, Create Memorable Events.
Experiences.
I keep saying that too. It's okay. Create memorable experiences. Yes. There we go. And I just can't wait to talk about it. Come, share with the people how you came about this business. Yeah. In hearing your story, I feel like, God always has like little things that lead us to our purpose. Like, you know what? I've low-key,
that's what I
breadcrumbs. I've low-key been in this the whole time, and now the whole vision, you can see it. So I just can't wait to talk to that about you. Talk with that about you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, she wears many hats. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's an entrepreneur, and she's a woman that's winning who I can't wait to shine light on today. So thank you for coming to the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So we're going to get right into this. I like to start a lot of my episodes with allowing my audience to get to know who they can be potentially supporting, who this person is. So I mentioned that you're here, born and raised from Atlanta, Georgia. Just tell me about that. When did you graduate high school? What year? Shout out your class if you want
to. Class of 04, baby.
Okay. Okay. So class of 04, you're here in Atlanta, which I love because here, you know, I'm from a small town and I feel like we don't see a lot of Black people in these houses or in good roles. Even last week, or 2 weeks ago, my guest Missy was saying that she loved Atlanta because when she was coming to visit in the summer, the family, she just loved seeing things that she didn't see in Chicago, where she was originally from. But you grew up around this. So tell me, when you were just stepping into adulthood, you know, we think we know it all at 18, 19.
Absolutely.
What did you see yourself doing? Was it an event, you know, celebrity event stylist? What did you see yourself doing then? I always like to ask that question.
So let me back up a little pre-adulthood. So I'm from Riverdale, Georgia.
Okay.
Right outside of College Park.
Yeah.
And my parents moved us into that community. My parents are from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
So, you know, Atlanta was a Black mecca. You saw people here really doing things you didn't see in other cities.
Mm-hmm.
So when we moved here into Riverdale, they were like, listen, you can do anything. You can be anything. It was me and my brother. They drove us by Spelman and Morehouse every weekend. They were like, you guys are going to college. Education was really, you know, that was really talked about for us. But growing up, I was actually a singer and a songwriter.
Okay.
So that was what I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously life had other plans. But that part of me has always had like that celebrity tie, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So the community that we moved in was the lead singer, one of the lead singers from Escape, Tiny. She lived in that community.
Okay.
And so she was young, in her 20s at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were really close to her nephew. And I used to go over there, slip my CD in her mailbox.
Wow.
She let me go over there and rake her leaves, clean her house. And I was just always trying to be
Put
in
yourself in the mix.
Okay, I had to put myself in the mix. And so anyhow, with that, I don't know. It was just seeing Black people here do things. Mm-hmm. I knew that I had any opportunity that I wanted. So I did end up going to school. I took the educational route, but I met my husband. Mm-hmm. And so when I met my husband, you know, he was in the streets doing whatever he wanted to do. And so I kind of fell off track and left school.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love this. I swear, y'all, I can't wait to deep dive into this story. Just because you already have spoke about intention, which was one of our words of the week one time. So I just love that. Even just focus, which is the word of the week last week.
Yeah.
So, and we're talking about vision this week. And I like to hear that you say you went to school, but then you met your husband, you know, you got off focus, but that didn't stop you. Obviously, look at where you are now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so again, I like to talk about the beginning because in doing my research about you, first of all, Millicent was telling me, she said, you know, I really want you to interview her. She has a really good story. You know, sometimes people think since they didn't have it hard or grow up rough with a single parent, this and that they don't have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And, you know, that, and I was even telling my cousin today, and he was like, man, some people need to hear that every Black person didn't grow up like this or that. So I want to talk about that because it's February, it's Black History, Black Love. Yes. Your parents have been together since they were like 7 years old.
7 and 9.
7 and 9 years old. How does that even happen, you know, from Detroit, Michigan?
You know what? It's just the community. When you are in certain Black areas, there is a strong tie to the community. And so they grew up in a neighborhood together. My aunt, my mother's sister, met her husband on the same street. They're still married.
Wow.
So, you know, like that's just how it was where they were from. But I mean, my parents did a lot to become who they became in life and to instill the things in us that they instilled. So I had a very involved father, a very involved mother. You know, in the summers we were writing book reports, learning how to write checks and balance money and things like that. They didn't play around. So I don't have the hood struggle story. And for a long time, I thought when I would be in rooms and hear people's stories, I didn't want to add to it because I felt like my struggle wasn't a struggle at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember someone saying to me, like, people need to hear the good stories too.
I love
and that changed everything for me, because at the end of the day, I don't want to have to portray something that I'm not. I want people to know that Black family and love does exist.
Yes, it does.
We out here.
And we out here, and you're a product of it. I love
Absolutely.
that. And so,
And my children are a product.
I know. Yeah. I love this. And you are doing, you know, like building literally generational wealth.
Absolutely.
You know, with what you and your husband are doing. So I love that. You know, when Millicent told me that, and then I ended up doing my research, I was like, oh no, she really, you know, seen, you know, you got to witness that Black love.
Absolutely.
So that you got to witness. But I do want to ask, like, were your parents, did they have an education and that's why they were on it with you, or because they did it?
Because that's
why they pushed it.
Because they did.
Okay.
My mom ended up going to the military, to the Air Force.
Okay.
And so my mom graduated high school, but my dad did not.
Mm-hmm.
And so no, they pushed it, and they were like, keep going, keep going. I didn't go on to get my doctorate. That could be something I do just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, it's beautiful to be in a place where I do it just because I can. Okay. So no, so I did. I went on and got my master's, and everything changed. So like I said, I went to school and I thought I was going to be a journalist. And me and my mother have always had this knack for speaking to people and just kind of helping them. I've always been the friend that people call and they're like, this is what's going on, you know, and I pour into them and I give them tools and things to help them through the situations that they're living in. And so that's what landed me in school for psychology. So went to school for psychology, and post-graduation, I was like, what do you do with a bachelor's degree in psychology? Nothing. You know, you cannot be a therapist with a bachelor's in psychology. And I remember I was pregnant at the time with my second daughter, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I was praying, and social work popped up on my computer randomly. And I looked into the program, and I'm a very diverse, I need flexibility. I don't like to be on a one-track lane. And so social work offered me the potential to be a medical social worker, a clinician in the school setting. And I did each and every one of them.
Okay.
So I love that God brought that to me, and that's the path I ended up going in once we were in Vegas.
So I just cannot wait to just, again, unfold this story.
Yeah.
So you end up going to college. So in doing my research, I was hearing that you actually met your husband very young, right before going to school.
On my 18th birthday, I was selling CDs.
That's what I wanted to talk about, okay? Because I'm telling you, when I was hearing your story, and then you said that you were at the mall, you know, selling your CDs, you know, putting yourself out there, which I love. And then you said that Trey, your husband, was at the mall, and he was passing out flyers because they was having a party, a pool party.
I was like, sir, no.
But I want to tell you that when I heard that, I said, look, I'm not surprised they together, because low-key they in the same look. Yeah. They in the same.
We were trying to get it.
You know, get it without even knowing, you know. So for the people that don't know, I would love for you to tell, you know, just a little bit of it, because I love hearing the story, because I was one of those girls right out of school, went to college. Again, it was pushed on me because no one really in my family had did it yet. So it was like pushed on me. I didn't really know what I wanted to go to, you know, for. I had a few different things, but I didn't really know, but I knew how to work. So I was like, you know what, forget school, I'm gonna work. You know, we all kind of have certain stories, but now here I am in my 30s, gotta go back. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it happens. But it'll be a full circle.
It'll be a full circle.
For
Tell
me,
me about y'all.
On my 18th birthday, so my dad was what you would now call an executive producer, He put a lot of money behind my music. Okay. He would make sure I was in the studios. He made sure those CDs got pressed up, photo shoots, all the things. All of his money was poured into me. Okay.
That's what's up.
Like late nights at the studio. When he had to go to work the next day, I had to go to school. This is what we were living and breathing. So I had this CD. A little bit of time had passed. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really working right now. Why don't I sell the CD to make some? My CDs was $10. You would have thought I was Beyonce. And that's what my husband tried to. He was like, $10? Who are you? And I was like, baby, I'm Jasmine. Like, what are you saying? What are you saying? So anyhow, I got with my girlfriends and I said, let's go to the mall for my birthday. If we all sell 50 CDs, that'll be $500. We can go get a hotel downtown. We gonna kick it, go to dinner, you know, very much luxury lifestyle.
Always.
I tell people, baby, this is not new. I am true to
True
this.
to this.
So anyhow, we went into the mall. So we were on our last leg. It was kind of towards the end of the night. We had sold most of the CDs, and then we ran across my husband and his friend, and I was like, look, I got this CD. And my friend had actually came in contact with them first. So what she ended up saying was like, you know, my girl is over here. He was like, she's selling CDs for $10. Can she even sing? And so she grabs me and he's like, sing something. I'm in the middle of the mall belting it out. Like, baby,
Never
don't
scared.
play. Okay? I do this. So anyway, so he ends up, they don't buy the CD. They did not buy the CD.
Made you sing for what?
Exactly. So I was like, so they're like, well, come to the pool party because at the pool party you could sell the CD. No. You did not support Here and Now. I don't go on a wish and a dream. So my friends are all like, girl, they look good. Let's go. I was like, absolutely not. It's my birthday. We're done. My friend and his friend made contact. Why they ain't had no car? They didn't have no car. Me and my husband did. So we're constantly bumping into each other, looking at each other like, ugh.
Too funny.
Every single time, yeah.
In the middle of that, looking at him like, did you deep down?
No, I thought I liked his friend.
So it's not a no.
It wasn't even I liked anyone really. I was there with the intention to sell a CD to make money for my birthday. This had nothing to do with that. So when they were when his friend and my friend liked it, I thought his friend was cute. He was okay. He wasn't a bad looking dude, but I was like, okay.
He ain't buy my CD, so whatever.
Yeah, he ain't buy CD, so it automatically like, I'm just not that girl. Like, I'm looking at him like, you can't even buy a $10 CD.
Right.
So when they made contact and she liked his friend, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm telling you, me and my husband had no interest in each other. I mean, I asked him and he was like, I mean, you was cute, but there was not an attraction. There was not like, oh, okay, maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, after that, we kept bumping into each other and eventually it led to us sitting down and talking. We bumped heads immediately because they were lying to us to get us to come together. They were like, hey, he want to take you to the movies. He want to do this. So we on the phone. I'm like, what's up? You want to take me to the movie? They said you want to go to the movie. I was like, listen, if a man is going to take me to the movie, he paying for this. So baby, before they was doing what they doing on social media, I was letting the boys know. I'm not paying for this. Okay. There is a standard here. You can pay for this movie theater ticket. And he was like, yeah, I don't like your attitude. Hung up on me. Like we were clashing every time.
That's hilarious.
Ain't that crazy?
That's funny to me.
And then one day it just changed. And it's probably too explicit for this episode, but
listen, exclusive coming later on. Okay. So I love this though, because in listening to this and finding this out, I found out, that y'all were young. Then you went away to school, and so it's like, oh, okay, maybe this won't be that serious, because you're young, you're not thinking like that.
No. And my husband had children when I met him.
And I was hearing, like, in the story, I'm like, dang, but I thought they were young. Okay, so you already got kids. And so you talk about that, and I love that you're open about it, because a lot of people just think that things gotta be like this or like that, perfect. And then even you coming from this home where your parents,
my parents was looking at me like, girl, what are you doing?
And sometimes I like that, because sometimes your parents don't always approve or understand your vision or whatever, but they're supportive. So, and especially you coming from the type of family that you came from, it just tickled me listening to your story.
I was like, this my man, y'all gonna have to be all right. By the time we were really locked in, we were locked in. So my parents, they always respected him, but it wasn't the ideal situation for them. But I think the thing that kind of served as a buffer is my brother was a teen father. Okay. And so my brother had his son at 16. My husband had his son at 15. Wow. So when we got together, I had my nephew with me. So that was kind of like my little baby that I brought around, and we would, I get the kids and we'd have a good time. But yeah.
So you talk about being in school, and then just somewhere along the line, just not being as focused. Nope. And then you said your dad found out that you were not in school. So
I dropped out of school.
So I would love to just talk about that, because I feel like that's what led into maybe you and Trey getting to you know, the seriousness, because you talk about going home and then y'all end up getting a place together and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So I would love that, because you and Trey, man, y'all young, but y'all really started.
We started having
so beautiful,
a vision for our life, for sure.
Yes.
So when I left out of school, I was of the mindset, not really knowing what I wanted to do other than I want to be with this guy. So in Savannah State, I was in student housing. You can't have your boyfriend. Like, we're not paying for that.
Right.
So when I ended up leaving school, I actually came to the city. I want to say and you know what? I never quite remember what it was, but I feel like we were staying in a hotel or something. He was renting rooms, and I mean, it was short-lived. I would literally say this might have been a week, maybe a 2-week span. And I had got a job at Target on Camp Creek. Okay, got a job at Target. I never forget. My dad called me, and I run from the cash register, and I'm like, "Hello, what's up? I'm in class." He was like, "You ain't in no class. That school called and told me you dropped out." And I was like, "Oh, my bad." He was like, "Leave that job now and get to this house." I go home. I'm talking to them, and they were just like, "What are you doing?" Like, you know, this was our fear. You get with this guy. He's not in school. He has children. And now you've altered everything that we instilled in you is out the window all of a sudden. And I was like, "No, I'm going to go back to school. I just can't right now." And they were like, "Listen, you need to get you a job. These are the things that you need to do if you're not going to be in school." So, you know, they had that tough love conversation with me. But my relationship with my husband continued on, and we got a place. And when we first got the place, I told him, you know, I'm not ready for marriage right now. But you have children with different women. I am not a baby mama. So I love that we're going to live together, but I need you to know I am a wife. My mother was a wife. That's my expectation. And he was like, "Okay." And yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Had he come from that? Like, what was his, like, had he come from this 2-parent home as well?
Yes.
Or were you the first person that opened up marriage to him? Or would you know, have you ever talked about that?
Yes, we definitely talked about it. We talk a lot, okay? Like, we talk to other couples and we're like, "Oh, y'all didn't talk about that?" Like, that's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah, we talk about a lot. So my husband is one of 10. His mother was a young mother.
Wow.
You know, it was different fathers. So, but his mother's youngest children, their father, she ended up marrying.
Okay.
So he did have a 2-parent household.
Gotcha.
It was a little different being that my husband's from Virginia. You know, they kind of had a bit of a rough upbringing. As you can imagine, if you're young and you have that many children, it can be a struggle in your life. And so what ended up happening was when he met me, he met my father and my husband. I don't know why he had this perspective of men in terms of marriage, but he kind of felt like men that got married were like corny. They weren't cool. They kind of lost themselves to being a father and a husband. Right. Okay. So he did not have those aspirations. But when he met my dad smoked cigars. He hung out with his friends. He was a really smooth, cool guy. And so I just remember my husband always saying, like, after they broke the barrier of why is she with him and going through all of this, they built a really good relationship. And I think that it showed him something different that he wasn't exposed to. I know that his stepdad, again, coming from a rough background, he didn't really fit the mold of a traditional, like, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. You know, he was a good husband to his mom, but for whatever reason, that wasn't apparent to him that these two worlds existed until he met my dad.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So you and Trey now, we live together. Y'all are living together. Yeah. You let him know that, hey, your intentions need to be this, because my intentions is to be some man's wife, not just this and that. Yeah. And so just y'all eventually get married, obviously.
Yeah. So when we were in our apartment, I would say we had probably been living together just under a year, and he proposed to me. He took me to Cheesecake Factory, which is where I met Millicent. Me and Millicent used to be, we were waitresses.
Yeah, she talked about that.
Factory. And so he took me there. I had left Cheesecake Factory at this time, so that was no longer my job. But we lived right up the street, the Cheesecake Factory at Cobb. Okay. Cumberland Mall. Okay. And so he took me over there. and he proposed to me. I was terrified, but we got engaged
Mm-hmm.
the next year. So this is 2007 at this point.
Okay.
So we get engaged maybe like March
Okay.
2007. My God. So anyhow, the next year for Valentine's Day, I was going to visit my best friend in Vegas because we both went to Savannah State.
Okay.
Her sister had lived in Vegas, who was in the Air Force.
Okay.
We went there to visit her sister because
and your husband together?
No, me and my best friend.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We were going to visit her sister. And when we went there, my best friend stayed for the summer with her older sister, ended up getting pregnant.
Okay.
So she moved to Vegas.
Okay.
So while she's pregnant, I'm going to visit my goddaughter, right? Like, she's had the baby. I'm going to go see her. And I was going there quite a bit. My mom worked at the airline. So after she left the Air Force, she was like a ticket agent. So we had benefits and all this stuff. And so my husband, while we were living together, this was not my husband at the time, my boyfriend, and he's like, dang, you always going to Vegas. You ain't never took me to Vegas. And so I was like, okay. And so I called my mom and I was like, hey, can you help me book a ticket for Trey? And she was like, yeah. And we went out there and he fell in love. He fell in love. We were on the plane and he saw the lights and he was like, the opportunity that's here. And I'm looking like, I had been to Vegas several times.
I was going to ask that.
I never looked at Vegas.
Wow.
Like that,
that's so interesting. So, okay, I have two questions.
Yeah.
So first of all, I do want to ask you this because you're really young doing this. You know, did you see yourself prior to this, like as a young wife, or did you want to like live maybe? And then
I thought living would be with my husband. I wasn't worried about like my age in terms of am I ready for this type of responsibility per se. I had already seen what came of my parents' life.
For sure.
I thought being a wife would be fun. So I didn't have too much seriousness behind it other than the commitment of marriage, right? Like the loyalty. I'm not going to be running around cheating and doing crazy stuff. But no, I was like, okay, bet. Because we can start our life anyhow. Like we always made a pact. Like we're going to be happy. We're going to be successful. So I didn't think that would penalize my relationship at all. So we get to Vegas. He falls in love. When it's time for us to leave, he tells me, because my birthday's in May, so we came for Valentine's Day in February. He was like, we're going to move here in 3 months.
And so I have to stop there. Being that you have been there these few times, and didn't even cross your mind. No. And then all of a sudden, he's like, listen, in a few months. Not like, hey, babe, in a year, this is what we're going to do. In a few months.
You know what's funny, though?
Yeah.
To the point of breadcrumbs and God and how he works. We're not big planners. Even though we are event planners, we're very spontaneous.
So God is such a humor, though.
Yeah, like we just like to do things. It's like a year from now, I don't know. Right now, today, I wouldn't tell you something I would do a year from now. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. I don't know what I'm going to be into in a year. You know, like I don't. So when he said 3 months, that matches who we are. Because it's like in 3 months I'll still feel like Vegas. I don't know about a year.
Right. Okay.
And so when he said let's go, I was like, okay, cool. So he told his job. And at this point, Millicent now had got him a job with her because she left the Cheesecake Factory. Millicent has a degree. She's been in marketing. And she was like, dude, Trey will be good at sales. So she gets him a job at like, let's say the first
Shout out to Millicent.
Yeah, shout out to Millicent.
Oh my girl.
Yeah, so he had a sales background. Like he was selling curtain vacuums when we was in Savannah. So he already had that hustle in him. So she was like, you know what, this would be a good job for him. So before there was a Google, there was a City Search, which was like yellow pages online, how you research stuff and all of that. He was working there and he told them, my wife, we weren't even married yet. My wife, she has a job at, not a job. She got into UNLV and I have to move. And they created a position for him there. He was 22.
Was this true? That you had got in school first? So
no, he was lying.
Okay. He was manifesting.
Yeah.
He was
manifesting. Yeah, he was manifesting.
I love that though.
No,
he created the opportunity, Trey.
Let me tell you something.
Love
he was making a base salary of like $50,000 to $60,000.
Young.
Girl, and working from the house. We went there and was like, I mean, we was doing it. You understand? We was doing it. So yeah.
So the plan was to go in 3 months, but what was the plan like when y'all get there? Was it to be in the industry you're in now? Or was it like, listen, we're just gonna get
We're
there
going
and
there to
go?
live our life. We're gonna go there. We're gonna figure that part out. We don't need to know all them details.
Baby, take the first step, then you can march.
That's it. So when we got there was no plan. We're gonna go there. We're gonna start this new life.
Love
And
it.
so we went, but it was a culture shock because coming from Atlanta, where there's nothing but black people,
right?
There were no black people,
Uh-huh.
and so let me tell you, this is so funny. Right now, one of my best friends. So my best friend, who I went to high school with and then college with and got pregnant, she lived there. So that's my best friend. She's still my best friend to this day.
Okay.
We grew up together. Well, one of my best friends, so my other best friend, just them two, who lives in Vegas. When we got to Vegas on MySpace, I don't know if y'all remember this, you could like search things. So like when you were searching for people, you could put in descriptions.
Okay.
You could say they got to be between 20 to 25.
Oh, I remember.
Married, black, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for friends on MySpace.
I remember.
And so I put married and all these indicators, and this girl, her name is Crystal, pops up. And I was like, oh, she's pretty. They seem cool, whatever. And I hit her up and I'm like, let's go to lunch. I don't have any friends. I'm from Atlanta. I ain't seen no black people out here. Girl, okay, let me just say, the West Coast vibes are not like the Southern vibes. She was like, what? Like, girl, this is weird. And
that's so
I was
funny.
like, yeah, she was totally like, She talked to one of her friends, and her friends was like, let's meet her. And so we went out to Olive Garden and had a good time. Girl, why I forget my wallet? That's a whole other story. So they was looking at me like, ma'am. I was like, oh, my husband.
They came from Atlanta scheming.
Okay. They from Atlanta scheming. So, long story short, like, we're best friends to this day.
That's awesome.
So it's just crazy how everything worked out. But we went, so I say this to say, we then get married. So we're already engaged, remember, in 2007. Yeah. So 2008 rolls around, and now that we're there, our anniversary was already in August. So we were like, this is the year of like the 888. Let's get married then and have this special, this special date. And so we find I called my cousin who had just got married from here. I'm like, I need to borrow your dress. She was like, okay, bet. So my mom sends the dress. We go to the mall. We get wedding rings in the middle of the mall for $20, $30.
Love it.
Okay. And we find this cheap little wedding place, $500, and we get married in August. By the time December rolls around, I'm like, dang, I don't know how I'm feeling. He ends up losing his job because he got comfortable. He never had a work from home job, and he's making all this money, so they end up laying him off because the market also wasn't strong enough there. He was building relationships and getting the sales, but it wasn't consistent enough. Right. So when he got laid off, we actually ended up coming back home. Okay. So we didn't even make it there a year. Wow. So you figure we moved there in May. In December, we're leaving to come back home. Right. So we get back home. By the time January rolls around, I found out I'm pregnant with my daughter. Okay. So it's our first daughter, and we're there, and we're just like, we shouldn't have left Vegas. Even though it was a shock, even though it wasn't what we expected, we don't have the socialization that we like. Vegas just feels like where we're supposed to be. And when I say it was nothing in Vegas, nothing. Like there was no, like right now when you go, you see so many suburbs and there's a lot of community there, but it was really ran off of the strip and hospitality. So when we were there, it was like, just the locals. It wasn't people from other places, moving there.
So I do want to ask, so after you came back home and y'all were feeling like, dang, we shouldn't have left, why? Because y'all had already started to maybe discover some purpose in Vegas, or y'all were just liking it? You feel like you had more? Like, why did y'all feel like, dang?
Like I said, my husband had kind of a street background. So when we left, one of the things that he also was leaving was the fact that no matter what he was doing, he would be cutting hair at a friend's house. The police would come and he'd get arrested. Oh, it's drugs in here. He's like, I just pulled up as the barber. No matter what he was doing, it kept showing up that like you're not supposed to be here. When we got to Vegas, I mean, and as crazy as it sounds, but this is the culture and the climate that we're in as Black people. Like, we don't interact with the police out there. There aren't police on bridges clocking people. Like, they find any way to just stop people.
Oh, really?
So here, like,
So it ain't like that over there.
no. Like there's no interaction. It's just peaceful.
Okay.
And
that's
so,
interesting.
even though that wasn't necessarily my lifestyle, I could see for him the difference in how he was evolving as a person. So yeah, we don't have the income anymore. We don't have the this. We don't have the that. But we were realizing like it just feels good and peaceful. It feels right for us to be here. We can get the friends later. We can get, everything else established. But this is where we need to be. And we had to first know that and come to terms with that to know that this is where we want to be at.
Okay.
So after I had my daughter, we stayed there. So I had my daughter in 2009, which is when we came back.
Okay.
We moved in 2010.
Okay.
So he left ahead of me. She had just turned 1 or was turning 1. And he went back to Vegas with the one friend that we had made out there. And he was like, yeah, come stay here until until I can figure out where we're going to live and all this stuff. And so he would come back and forth and visit me. I would go back and forth and visit him with the baby. And then we moved out there and I enrolled in school. And I remember talking to him and he was like, listen, you've been in school, you went to Savannah State, you played around, you dropped out. I had like C's. He was like, stay at home, be a stay-at-home mom. But if you go back to school, you need to do this. So you need to be for real.
I love that.
And I was like, all right.
Okay, so I got a question though.
Yeah.
So how old were you by the time you had
I had my daughter at
child
23.
and moved back? Okay, so 23.
Yeah.
And when y'all were making the decision to go back, I just have to ask, because that's still so young, but obviously y'all had a plan and people see that you and Trey was,
Yeah, we was locked in.
Yeah, y'all was locked in. But did anybody say, oh no, stay here, you don't want to bring your baby to Vegas. Y'all so young.
No.
You already tried it. Did you even have it?
When I moved, when he said that we were going to move, I knew we were going to move. And I remember crying all the time, telling my parents, like, I cannot leave y'all. We're too close. And my parents was like, girl, that is going to be the best thing that ever happens to your relationship.
Really?
Because they left Michigan. My parents went to California. They built this community of friends and family. Like, they knew what leaving there. I recommend anybody. Leave your hometown. Do not stay where it's comfortable and familiar. You are stunning your growth if you do that. Now, granted, there are people from places and they have purpose in that. And they excel and they thrive as well. But there is nothing like the thing that me and my husband really shine at is we explore and do life and adventure together. So when we came to Vegas, it was like just new territory
for y'all.
Yeah, we were together. It was like, oh, let's go here. Let's check this out. Look at this neighborhood. So everything was us. I mean, it just made it fun. Like,
what time for y'all? Love that
girl.
for y'all.
Yeah, I love that for me too.
So you go, period. So you go back.
Yeah.
And then just tell me, I want to know, like, how soon after going back did y'all start to realize that this is a passion? Because I also, even doing the research, I heard that you were always that anyway. Like, y'all were having things at your house all the time. You want to be the host.
Isn't it crazy?
So breadcrumbs, again. So I just want to talk about and share with them, how did you get to being here and be like, you know what? Not only am I gonna turn this side hustle to money, I got a business now. I'm gonna do it. You're gonna pay me, and not only are you gonna pay me, but I'm gonna,
you're gonna pay me well.
Right, you're gonna pay me well because I'm a celebrity baby event stylist. So I just want to talk about that, just that journey leading up to.
So let me start by saying my husband's mother loves interior design, and so does my dad.
Okay.
So in that, it was really interesting because that's what we wanted to do when we got our place. We loved HGTV. All of our apartments, we lost the deposit because we was always painting stuff. But we didn't want to paint it back when we was leaving. And so I had him build me this bed one year. And the bed was absolutely beautiful. It was a platform bed. So I want to put that in your back pocket.
Okay.
Because that's what we thought we were doing when we were starting our business. We thought we were going to be interior designers.
Right.
So it was something that came very natural to us. My parents were always hosts. They always had friends over, family over, whether people were staying at the house or they were just doing like a few hour functions. They had people at the home. So hosting is something my entire family does. My mother, father, my brother, and myself. So my parents had an anniversary. I ended up throwing a surprise thing at the house for them. Always wanted the stuff to look nice. Nothing over the top, no florals, none of the stuff that makes an event planner.
Right.
Just nice, clean everybody, get everybody together. Okay. So that happened. We go to Vegas. And so Facebook became the platform in how we shared our lives with our family without having to call everybody.
Right.
I can make a post
Mm-hmm.
and everybody can see the post versus me having to call 10 people. Right?
Right.
So Facebook is kind of newer at this time because when it come out, 2008,
11, something
earlier than that, because I was in college.
Okay.
I was in college.
I think it might have been in 07. My brother,
Exactly.
I remember my brother
somewhere in there. So, okay, so we're posting and we're doing all of that. So then when we were meeting people in Vegas, again, in Atlanta, you meet people, we cool, come by, man, we throwing a barbecue, blah, blah, blah. That's what we would do with our friends.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got to Vegas, we were like, these people aren't really social. We're early 20s, so we don't really have that culture of like going out to the casinos because that's what you do in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Even the clubs are inside of the casino.
Okay.
So we were still on the house party, Southern type of,
right.
We want to have a kickback type situation.
Yeah.
So we would invite people to the house, and we had children. So we were like, oh, we're having a birthday party. Let's make it look cute. So we did all the Pinterest stuff and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're posting this stuff. So now people are like,
oh,
this is what, this stuff look nice.
Mm-hmm.
Time went on. This is years prior.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just doing nice things for our kids. And then one day, my braider, during the pandemic, this year, our business will be 5 years old, but it wasn't until 5 years ago. So our first daughter is 15. Mm-hmm. It took 10 years for that to really be realized in a monetization way where we could begin a business. Mm-hmm. And so when my braider saw that we were doing hair, when my braider saw that we were posting things, she ended up telling someone about us. And let me back up from that. So we ended up buying a house. Okay. And when we bought our first home, that's when we were like, bet we could do all this interior design. We could show people. Okay. We were doing that. And that was our first stint in like something from our hands can earn us money. Okay. So we end up posting these things. People are booking us to have him do it. I was like, okay, this is cool. But still in people's mind, it was like that hosting. Mm-hmm. And so honestly, where the name of our company, Create Memorable Experiences, comes from, is because I have such a bold personality. Yes. I would always joke and say, like, to know me is to experience me. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like an experience is something that sticks with you. Mm-hmm. You can go to an event, you can go to a place, or whatever the case is. Yeah. But experiences is what makes you go back. Mm-hmm. And so that name kind of came from that. Mm-hmm. But when we did it, and we were posting, a woman called me, and at this time, I'm a therapist. I'm an in-home therapist and I deal with adolescents. I get this call and the client is saying, hey, I need something for my daughter. She works so hard. The pandemic is here. I thought that she wanted therapy. She never said, hey, your braider. She never gave me the connection or who told me to call me. She said, you just come highly recommended. And I was like, I'm not taking any more therapist clients. I was like, it's COVID. I can't be going to people's house. They're sick. And, so she was like, therapy? Girl, I need this party. And I was like, oh, I don't do parties.
That didn't even cross your mind, huh? That's so crazy.
I said, I don't do parties. And she was like, no, you have to do this. My daughter, da-da-da. And I was like, let me call you back. And I called my husband and he said, we could do it.
And I love that because number one, it like that testimony alone shows that sometimes people see the potential in you before you even have even thought that. Absolutely. Your friend's like, oh, I know who's gonna get that job done, and she recommended you. Yeah, you know what I mean. So she's seen it in you before you were even thinking like that. So I love that. And then I also love that even though you probably knew that you could do it, but you're like, wait a minute, let me think about it. I love that you didn't say yes right away. Yeah, because sometimes we need to not say yes right away.
Sometimes you know what I mean? So reflect on it.
Okay. So I love, like, when I heard you tell this story, I was like, dang, I love that she said yeah right away. Like, let me reflect, let me consult my partner. Absolutely. And I love that your partner, like, come on now, we can do this. Yeah. So why you even,
He's always been like that, though. He literally was like, we 100% can do this. He said, now we got to do some research and see, where things. I didn't know that there were rental companies for events. Like, the best thing that I knew about events was, like, you could go on Facebook. And on the West Coast, there are a lot of like Hispanic companies. Yeah. They rent tables and chairs. That was the extent. I didn't know there were real rental companies with high-end inventory.
Yeah.
And so he found it, and he was like, let's do a stage. It's going to be a we're going to recreate a graduation. Let's do a stage. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't afraid to think big, whereas I was a little shy,
Because
because my thing is, I am a person that is very serious when it comes to a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime someone pays you, you better be able to do what you said you was going to do.
Man, girl.
And so he was like, oh, yeah, that's going to be the case. But I was like, I need to make sure that is the case. Because I will never play with nobody's time, right? And so in that, we ended up, I mean, it's just shocking how it really unfolded. But once we did it, what really drew us back to it was the fact that they were emotional crying. What we had given them was more than an event. It was an experience. Yeah. Like you said. Yeah. You know, I didn't know event planning could have so much purpose to it. And so when we saw that, it kind of gave us that appetite. Like, let's do this again. So then the breaker called me.
And what she say then?
And she was like, I need a party.
And then from there
it just grew. Literally, I had asked God, and I said, if this is you and this is something you want me to do, Amen, I'm going to need you to prove it. And she called, and the very thing, we went to Home Goods, me, my husband, and my mom, because my dad ended up passing away from cancer in 2018. Okay. So my mom lives in Vegas with us. Okay. So we go to Home Goods. I see these cute little pillows, and I'm like, dang, I would love to do a slime party. And so we went on Pinterest, and I was just looking up stuff. And
like slime, like on Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they end up showing me like unicorns and whatever the theme was that was really popular at that time. That's what kept coming up. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. So when the braider called, she was like, I seen these little TPs, and that's what I wanted to do. I had seen the TPs. I said, that's crazy. I was just looking at that. She was like, I know Trey can do it. Because again, we showed Trey doing a lot of interior design things in our new house. And I was like, yeah, he can. She was like, if he builds it for me, I'll pay him. And I said, I got something better. I said, if he builds it, can we rent it to you? Because I understood the power of having inventory and being able to rent it out over time and continue to earn money. Yeah. And she was like, girl, yeah, I don't need it. And so I said, okay, what kind of party you want to do? Unicorns? She was like, slime. And I mean, just like every time I tell the story, I get really emotional just thinking about it, because I had asked God to reveal himself to me, and he did, like, so specifically. And so from there, it literally took off. And because you can't question it, it's like, okay, I know what I've been asking for. Yeah. And here he is revealing it. I have no choice but to keep on this journey. You know what I mean? When God has already revealed this is the journey I'm supposed to be on. Yeah. So I want to ask you, so apparently, like you just mentioned, this was completely new. You said the most that you knew about event planning was like renting out tables and chairs. So you're self-taught. Like, what did you do to even get to where you are? I know you say Trey's a researcher, so y'all doing this. I was watching y'all say he's a numbers guy. He making, it got to make sense. I was watching that. Sometimes you meet people like that. Yeah. And I also even love this because I don't know if you're a couple watching this and you do boss with your or work with your partner, but I even heard you say that y'all just had to figure out this dynamic in this workspace. Yes. Like, listen, I'm going to be the one to make the final decisions when it comes to this. Even though I trust his judgment, he trusts mine. It's like, I'm going to be the one. There has to be a boss. There has to be a boss. Like, I love that you can't. I think in situations we try to act like things don't have to exist that do. Right. So I think it's very important to say what it is. Like the buck got to stop with somebody. And it can't be both of us. We can't be equals in it. Just like we can't be equals in our home. Right. We can't be equals in our business. We cannot. And so what ended up happening was, fast forward, we get through that year. We're doing so well. It's the pandemic. Fortunately, my husband was able to collect unemployment and things like that. So during that time, we had the freedom. And this is what I tell people that was unique. Because when you're starting a business, you often have to weigh the risk. It's like, well, I'm pulling myself from here, or I'm doing this. Right. We had a very unique opportunity in that the world was shut down. People did still want to celebrate. So people were doing things at home. One of the biggest rental companies in Las Vegas, RSVP Party Rental, shout out to them as well. We went there. That was the place that my husband found. And when we went, we were talking to them. And what really sparked our interest was, we walk in there and we're asking this man, like, oh, you're the owner? He's like, yeah. My husband starts asking him questions. and it unfolds on how he began his business. And he was like, y'all want to do a tour? We go in there, it's this huge warehouse. And he's like, nobody's ever asked me these questions. And
Okay.
so we walking through, we leave there, and my husband is like, do you understand? He was like, this is the opportunity. It took him back to that plane ride and was like, this is this man who was just going to wedding chapels and building little backdrops. He's built all this. This is the type of opportunity that exists there. So we began to take it more seriously. And after I saw the money, I was like, okay, because I'm a person that is honestly motivated by money.
Yeah.
I can't, when people say I'll do it for free. I won't do it for free. I won't. Like, I will not.
I love that.
You know, like, what are we talking about?
To do it.
God ain't never told me I had to be broke. So I'm not doing that.
Love it. Okay.
So, anyhow, we go through all of that. And the next year comes and I'm like, you know what? I would like to replace my career with this one. I was like, I want to leave that job. Now, mind you, I'm making 6 figures. Okay,
I'm
a
clinical therapist. Yeah, licensed clinical.
Absolutely. Okay.
Everybody.
Licensed clinical social worker. So I'm making over 6 figures. We have a lot of children. I'm like, child, listen, can we do this? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, bet. Well, I'm leaving. When you gonna leave? And he was like, leave my job? He was like, no, we can't. And I was like, but I need you. Because I understood the dynamic with the two of us, just from a brain power perspective, let alone the physical element, right? Like, I was the design primarily. He designs as well. But he came in with the logistical thinking. He came in as the physical and manual labor. Because you got to remember, when you start something, you don't have the team yet.
Yeah.
You don't have that figured out. You're wearing all the hats. So with the two of us, it was really divide and conquer. Bet I could do this. And then we started realizing we became known as like that Black luxury event planning couple. So people were really drawing us because of that. They're like, hey, this young couple, they out here doing this stuff. And we were like, yeah, you know, we always roll with Atlanta on our back. Like, we from Atlanta, we do something different. You know, we had that sense of pride in what we were doing, and people gravitated and took towards it. And so going from there and making that decision, when he finally realized there was enough business to replace our income, he again had that serious conversation and was like, look, if we gonna do it, it gotta be, you know. So I'm like, here we go. And so after we had that conversation, he really came in and was like, you know what I think needs to happen is we gotta figure out what the roles are. Because as we were doing stuff, and he'd say, I'm thinking about this, and I was like, no, we're not doing that, I'm doing this. And so he didn't understand. He was looking like, wait a minute, right, what you mean we doing this? But I had to explain to him, like, this is my design. Like, your idea is nice, but we're not doing that.
I love that.
You know, this is where. So he finally said, okay, I got it. If this is the way that is gonna go, we're gonna have to create a lane for me in our business that I have for me, where I get to say what goes. I was like, okay, and then we opened the venue space in Vegas, and so we have a venue.
I seen that,
and that's his baby.
Oh,
and so I'm in there like, oh, Trey, we need to do it. He was like,
stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
So,
I love that. Oh my gosh, man! Congratulations!
Thank you.
On everything that y'all doing. Seriously, I love this story. Just to be like young and
young and popping.
You
know when you want to do something and you do it, like you feel good about it.
I'm telling you, you gotta be proud of yourself. You know, because again, I've been just doing a little research leading up to this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud of them. I don't even, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
But just to see it unfold, I really am amazed. I have a few more questions though that I just want to ask. So at the beginning of y'all get together, you know, obviously y'all seen the hustle in each other because you're selling your CDs. And, you know, getting ready for this party. Yeah. But were y'all, like, did y'all even think about having y'all own business at that young age? So it's literally just moved to Vegas.
We've always, let me say this. I sold candy when I was in high school. I had employees for that. I literally adopted my close friends, little sisters, and was like, hey, sell this. And he was doing things. But it's, when you're just doing and you just have that hunger and that drive, it's a lot of the times you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. You're just out there, you're trying to get it. You're hungry. Yeah. And I think that was the same philosophy with the business. I didn't think, wait a minute, they paid me. This can be a business. It was one event after the next when I was like, oh, duh, like, I can do this for real.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that and I was able to make money from it.
Yeah.
And then we pulled our kids in and we saw like,
love that.
We got a team.
Generational.
You know, absolutely. So when we were, as we were building and it was growing, again, we have a heavy reliance on God and just connecting and talking with Him. Absolutely. So that was important to us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were having those conversations with God and praying and like really coming together and saying, what does this mean for us? And God was saying, this is what's next. This is what's next. And it was working. You cannot deny God's hand and His favor in situations. You just got to lean into it. And that's what we did. So taking that leap of faith for us was like, God is matching it. You ever have a job and they got 401k and they like, you put this in, I'm going to put this in.
Right.
Like, God was matching the energy.
Okay.
Like, the match was coming. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, Ben, like, this is what it is. This is what we're supposed to be doing. So now, obviously, the plans have changed. Now we're in it trying to dictate and maneuver. But there's still times God will be like, you're trying to do too much.
Right.
You know, like He has a flow for this to go. Because none of this is by our own doing. Yes, we're showing up. But that is the extent of it. But I think a crucial thing in our business is saying who we are and not being shy about it. You know, everybody doesn't want to say they're celebrity event stylists. Right. But I do. That's what
walking boldly
absolutely
in the purpose and the vision, you know, because it's what you didn't come this far to be, you know, I
didn't come this far to come this far.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just, you know.
Yeah.
So I love hearing that. Where can we well, before we say that, I do want to ask you, like, what is for the event planners or what is it? Aspiring celebrity event stylists out there. Like, what is something that when you got into this that did catch you by surprise? Though, like, okay, I didn't know that I need to be on point when it comes to this, and this. You know, that now once you've mastered that, it's like, okay, now this has all become easier. Like, what is that thing?
It is a lot of work. Yeah. I mean, you see a tablescape, for instance. It's plates, it's centerpieces, it's candles. And when you see it, it's like, I understand the individual pieces, but to really bring that together and to understand, it takes a design. There's so much planning on the back end.
Right.
I think that a lot of times in this industry, service-based business, people want to tell you what they're going to pay and one thing I always tell a client, or not a client, you said an aspiring event planner is, know your worth, not from the financial piece. Know your worth is the expert. Know your worth. If you ask me for something and you say, Jazz, this is what I want, and I say that, okay, so let me put this together for you, and I put it together and you don't like the price, and you're like, well, remove the drapes, take the lights away. It's not the same event anymore. Yeah. So you have to be comfortable telling people, you hired me for my creativity, for my eye. And I get it. The price ain't lining up with what you thought it would be. But I can't dumb it down to meet now your changed needs when my brand is on the line. Right. The reason that I have the clientele that I have and people spend money the way they do is because they trust when they come to my page and they see these things, they know that this is what you're going to get. You can't change it. Because if you change it, you need to change your event planner. Right. Because I'm not doing that.
Then I'm not the one for you.
I'm not the one for you.
And I love that.
And that confident, absolutely. But I think as I grew to know what I know, this is why when you study for a test or when you, any level of elevation, when you are prepared and you know things, you move differently. Nobody can just come in and say, well, this is what it takes to do it. Right. Because people will try to do, I don't care what industry you're in, people are going to tell you, well, you don't have to do all that. But it does require all of that. So when you go to people with that level of confidence, I think that take the time, do the research, learn the things, get the mentorship if you need it. Okay. But once you do those things, stick with it. Don't waver because somebody wants to question you. It's okay that people question you. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, you know what? I really appreciate it. We've always operated from a stance of excellence. So customer service has always been with us. And again, that was a driving force because as bold as I am personally, I do take a backseat to my clients because I understand when people are getting a luxury experience, they want to be catered to.
Right.
And they should be catered
Mm-hmm.
to. You dropping thousands upon thousands of dollars on me,
Mm-hmm.
you are the star of the show.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I can't come like, yeah, feathers, yeah, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
I am Jazmine, who works for you
For you at this point.
Yeah, that's it. So I think learning that over the time,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of the business acumen, because if you understand what it takes to build a team, it can become easier over time to continue to do the events and get them to the level that you want them to. But carrying good relationships with your vendors, like, it really takes full effort.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my advice.
And then before we, say where we can follow you and stuff like that, I just want to, what do you hope, your children are seeing from what you and your husband have built together, and they're very hands-on now? Like, what do you hope they're getting from this, learning from this? Are they talking to you about stuff that they're passionate about?
Absolutely.
What do you hope this is doing for them, and what do you see already that this is doing for them? And then at the end of that, just show us where we can follow you, how we can stay in contact with you, and stuff like that.
I mean, the biggest thing is my children seeing what hard work and dedication can afford you, not just financially, but on a mental perspective. As you evolve as a person, growth is so important to me. Self-development is important to me. I want them to see the cohesiveness of working together and really living out your dreams. They don't have to be entrepreneurs. They don't have to go to school and get a big education like I did. But they need to be confident in whatever they choose for their life. And they need to know that they have the ability to get the things out of life that they want. So that's my primary goal, to know that we all sat in the living room together and said, we want this next, and we have it.
Yeah.
I want them to know, like, that is attainable. So that's number one for them. And I want them to see what a supportive, loving relationship looks like.
Yeah, man.
Me supporting their father supporting me, us supporting them, and just having that in your life. I don't tolerate people in my life or in my space that are not supportive of me.
Right.
You don't rock with me, that's fine. You need to stay over there. Like, it's not optional.
Yeah.
If you in my life, you support me.
Okay.
Because I support the people that I'm in their life.
Non-negotiable.
It is a non-negotiable.
I love.
But you guys can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, child, anywhere social media lives, at CreateME LV. And our website is www.createmelv.com. And then also, me and my husband are kicking off our podcast this year.
Oh my God.
Love and Money Couplepreneurs.
I'm so excited.
So we are actually going to be traveling to talk to like some heavy hitting couples who are in business together. It's such a unique dynamic, and it's needed. Especially, and it's not only for Black couples, but I have a soft spot for the Black community, because for one, we think that Black love does not exist. We think Black men and women do not like and celebrate one another. And we want to showcase that. And we want to show wealth building, true wealth building in our community, and how we build things and how we make it work and how we are thriving out here.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm excited about that.
I am so excited for y'all. Y'all are going to bless a lot of people.
I believe it.
I'm telling you. Yes, y'all gonna bless a lot of people. Follow y'all them. They just said it here. CreateME LV on Instagram and their website, www.createmelv.com. Yes. Stay in contact with them. Please. On the website also, it has access to like their Instagram, their Facebook, and their YouTube channel. Yes. Make sure you subscribe. I learned so much just preparing for this interview. Just on the YouTube channel, on the website. So if you enjoyed this, go follow her and stay in contact with what she got coming up next.
Thank you, girl.
Yes, I'm super excited. Thank you. Anything else? Any last minute? Anything you want to say? I was going to ask you to say one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For the women and men out there, choosing a partner or whatever the case it may be. I always hear people say one of the most serious or most
that's one of the biggest
you're going to make in your life. And I see, I get it. So just when it comes to that, and we can wrap it up with this, anything you want to say pertaining to that, I'm going to let you in with that, but real quick. Again, just thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'm so excited for this. Thank you, Jazmine. You're amazing. So motivating. I am inspired by your story to just get it. No excuses, and walk boldly in it, Celebrity event stylist. Okay.
Yes.
Celebrity event, BT carpet host, whatever.
Okay.
That's me. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, walking boldly. That's what it is.
That's what it is. But yes, so For partnership,
Yes.
I will leave you with this.
Leave us with it.
My husband has been instrumental in my growth as a person. He is someone who pours into me, and better yet, he is someone who checks me when I need growth, when I need correction, and I do the same for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very important that when you are choosing someone that you look at, I don't want to say their potential because I don't want to encourage anyone to fall in love with just the potential, but it's okay to understand that as people, we're constantly growing and evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want you to cut anyone out
Mm-hmm.
that might, if someone loves you and you love them and you guys have that potential to build something together, you need to look at where you can go together versus where you are.
Amen, y'all. You heard it here first. Another Talk It Out exclusive.
Yes.
Make sure you follow us on all platforms. You can follow the podcast at talkitout.lim. And you can follow Ladies in Motion on all platforms at ladiesinmotion.llc. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, y'all. You do not want to miss this episode, and we'll meet you again here next week. Stay tuned as we keep shining light on more women that's winning in the local community.
Bye.
Bye.